YouTube, Cardfight King here, Aqua Life Baby. Today we have White Steve, and aka the driver. He will be doing some weird Claret Sword Witches deck that he and Virgo came up with. Don't know what to say, but you can go.
Alright, so my starter is David. Just for the simple fact of Claret Sword and the retiring, he counts as 2 when you retire, so that's always great. For my trigger lineup, since Clay said it's a witch deck, I kind of just went with triggers I really liked. So I went with the new heal trigger, the lab, just because it's adorable. Like super adorbs, I'm not gonna lie. Then I run the witch crit trigger. When in Legion, gives +5 to the Vanguard and so forth. Then I run 2 other random crit triggers. Then I run 4 of the draw trigger that pushes in the soul, give +3. Since with the deck you do use some of the soul, it's good for filling it up when you need it, and plus it also you can give a unit that +3 when you need it. Then I run just 2 of the stand trigger, just for the witch stand trigger, just for a simple of unflipping the damage, so that way you have more than just your perfect guard from flipping. So that's the grade 1s, or the grade 0s. Then I run 4 Karma Collectors, for essentially unflipping damage when I need it. I run 3 Stride Enablers, and then I run the first witch ever, which is essentially the rest, drop, draw. She's great turn 1 if you're going first, so you can just rest, drop, draw. Helps you build up the drop zone for legioning. Then I run 2 of him, because whenever he comes to the field, you just Soul Blast, and then you call your opponent has to replace a grade 0 in their drop zone with a unit on their field. So he's great because you can just do him immediately when he's on the rear guard or wherever. And then there's some other things that I do with him that I'll explain later. And then I run 2 of the cat. He's essentially draw power in the deck, more draw power in the deck. You just pitch a witch from your hand and draw 2 cards. Then for my grade 2s, I run 3 of Fiona's mates, and then the 12k attacker. Then I run 3 to Tell. She's great when you have 2 witches on the Vanguard. She allows you for free, makes your opponent replace a unit with a grade 0 from their deck. Then I run 2 of another new witch, where she's 11k attacker when she attacks, but if she hits, she lets you counter charge and soul charge, which is nice and all. But I run 2 just because she's only 11k when you have a witch Vanguard, and because Claret Sword is also in the deck, she kind of gets in the way of that. She doesn't work as much with that, so she's not really as good. And then I also run 3 Maka, essentially for her Generation Break skill is so good. When she gets boosted, she calls a grade 1. So that's why I was saying I combo with this guy. Essentially bring him out for free, or bring out the cat for free, and then their skills go off nicely with that. So then as far my grade 3s, I run 4 Fiona, and 4 Claret Sword. So the reason why I do this is because Fiana's essentially the main one where, Counterblast 2, your opponent looks at the top 10 cards, finds 2 grade zeros, and replaces 2 units on the field. Which can be devastating, especially when you're abusing it with the other cards too. But I run Claret Sword because, for the most part, he's just generic, where he doesn't have to have specifically, Revenger or Witch. You kind of can just throw him in, and he's great with his Generation Break skill if you run into that situation where you can't get her. You mainly want to get her, but he's a great backup just for this deck for right now.
Getting Rias? Soon we shall. And then we'll have a new deck profile.
I hate the Cardfight King sometimes.
Everybody
really
hates
do.
me.
Cardfight King sucks.
Bite me.
So bad. So, for my Stride deck, I run 1 Recruiter, just for the simple on-hit ability. And then I run 3 of the Witch Stride unit, because of her ability that, when you have a Witch Heart, and your opponent already has a grade 0 on the rear guard, you essentially force your opponent to look at the top 10 cards and put a 0 from their deck as their Vanguard. So essentially it causes them to... It creates a little bit of a very interesting conundrum with guarding. So in order for them... They can guard with 0s all they want, if they want to go ahead and do it. But in order for them to perfect guard, they have to counterblast. So it comes into the case of there are times where your opponent may have used all their counterblast and they don't have anything. So that's another fantastic thing. And then at the end, when it's done, your opponent can then choose a card in their soul and replace it with the 0. So essentially the point of it is, if you're using the deck right, you essentially are taking just about all your opponent's triggers out of their deck and putting on their field, and then they're replacing their triggers with other units. And then we decided to run Diablo, because people, what they'll do is they'll think, oh, I won't call units, because then my opponent won't be able to replace them. Okay, that's fine. Don't do that. I'll just play Diablo. Now you don't have rear guards to sack in order to be able to guard. So now you're going to get smacked in the face with an extra crit. So he's great for when your opponents are like trying to think, oh, I have a way around this. And then you're like, no, you don't. You don't have a way around this. You better hope for that heal trigger on 4. So that's the deck. It's fun. It's literally a fun deck. It is not very competitive. It's just a fun deck to play around when you're hanging out with your friends, or you want to go to locals and you don't really care much about like really taking things serious. It's just pure fun. That's the whole point of the deck. I don't know. I enjoy it. Some people absolutely hate them. They think they're absolutely bad. I think they're decent enough. But it's just fun. I enjoy it.
Well, alrighty then. Arigato gozaimasu, nani desu ka, for the deck profile, and we will. You leave me alone, okay? All right. I'm not a weeb.
Fake ass Japanese.
You know what? Or in this deck profile. Next, we're going to probably have Black Steve's Ancient Dragon deck after he finishes testing it out and doing something. We might actually upload a card fight with it, so stay tuned for that. All right, Aqua Life, we're out.